right. So how are you?
Good. Kind of devastated. I've been reading Breakfast with My Two-Tailed Cat,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so good. It's like a manga about this widow whose cat comes back as a two-tailed yokai
Mm.
because he like needs to take care of his dad after mom passes away. And so it's about
Mm.
them eating breakfast and like trying different ways of making eggs. So it's so good and so sweet and so tender, but it's just like every time I open it, I'm like, I'm gonna cry. This is so precious.
That's so sweet. Oh my gosh. I definitely should check it out because it sounds really adorable. It also sounds slightly related to what we're going to talk about today, which is our dining table because, we're both obsessed with it and it's unbelievably
Oh,
adorable. Like
yes.
it's too cute. Um, Okay, first, obviously, huge spoiler warnings for this because we're going to talk about the differences between the manga and the show adaptation. So, like, if you haven't watched it, if you haven't read it and you want to, go do that now because we're going to spoil the entire thing for you.
All of it.
Unless you don't mind spoilers, then, like, go ahead, it's fine. But
I
if you
feel
don't
like
want to be
I'm the kind of
spoiled,
person. Yeah, like I'm the kind of person who like Googles a movie ending sometimes because I'll be like, I need to know what's going to happen, or I'll wait until the end of the season of a stressful show because I'm like, I need to know what happens before I
yeah.
get emotionally invested.
I definitely wait till the end of certain shows because I'm like, I cannot watch this without knowing what happens because if it goes one way, I don't want to watch it, and if it goes the other way, I do want to watch it. So I
Yeah.
definitely feel that, and like generally, I'm okay with most spoilers, so like it doesn't matter to me, but I know there's lots of people who do not appreciate spoilers in any capacity.
Yes. Good to have the
So
warning just in case.
this is major warnings because we're gonna go into the similarities and differences. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, but they did do some things that changed things, which I really liked. And you know how hard this was for me to write because, like, I will honestly say I've watched the adaptation like I don't know, maybe 6 times now at this point.
I was gonna say only once or twice or
Yeah,
150 times, like
yeah.
no big deal.
And I've read the manga, I think I want to say three times now. So like when writing this, I was very much like, oh, this is different. This is this. Like I was going detail by detail, and I was like, wait, like pump the brakes. Like nobody cares.
I
Like
care. That's the whole point of this.
you do not want every single page by page playback of like what was the same and what was different. Like no, that's too
Okay, that's
much.
fair. That's fair.
So I narrowed it down to like things that I thought had the biggest impact in what was the same or what was changed, basically.
So it's a deep
Um,
dive, but you're not drowning us,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah, we're going
Okay.
like, halfway to the deep end, like,
Okay.
not quite full deep, but almost,
Yeah.
almost there. Okay, so if you don't know and you're watching this, our dining table is basically a story about these two guys who meet, Minoru and Utica, and Minoru is kind of taken on the role of, watching his younger brother, and Utica ends up just kind of in their life teaching them how to cook stuff because he lives alone and he kind of adults a little bit better than Minoru does, and he knows how to cook. Like pretty much basic story. Um, the manga is like a single issue standalone manga, so it's one and done. Very exciting though, there is a sequel coming now that's been announced, and I'm like over the moon because I need more of
Yeah.
them. Um, but yeah, so the manga's standalone, which means it's pretty short, like in the grand scheme of mangas, like we're used to really long series, but this one is just short little cute thing. Um, and I think as a result of that, like there were obviously things they had to stretch to make it into a series, because like one manga is not necessarily enough to make it a series, especially like a slice of life kind of story. Um, so as a result of like the manga being short, some of the characters and like situations, in my opinion, like didn't have as much depth as they could have if we had a longer series. Like they weren't really fleshed out in a way that, if it was even eight, editions would have given us a bit more time with those things. So there were changes that were made for the adaptation and things that were added that I think helped like add that layer of depth that kind of got missed in the short form manga. So for starters, like just basically, I think our characters felt a lot more fleshed out and like fully realized. Like in the manga, like obviously you get to know Yutuka. He's, an office worker. He lives alone. He basically just eats like quick convenience foods. Like he's like doesn't have time to cook, doesn't really care to cook. Like he'll just make his huge like grenade onigiri and like whatever he can pick up at the store afterwards. Like he eats the same thing every single day. Um, but in the like adaptation, we learn more about him. Like we kind of not right away, but we do get more insight into like who he is as a person. Like what does he like? Like why, what does he do? How does he exist in the world? And like you see some of that within the manga because you see like he doesn't really talk to his coworkers. He kind of, he eats lunch on his own. Like he's still a bit of a like loner outsider type character, but I think it's pretty like we very quickly learn that. It's like kind of a couple pages and then we're like, okay, now it's Minoru and Utica meeting. Um,
Yeah.
which still happens in the adaptation. Like they still meet very quickly, but I think throughout the entire series we learn more about Utica and like we get a bit more depth into his character, like why he is the way he is and why he acts the way he does. Same with Minoru, like I think we see a bit more of him and like who he is as a person, like how he interacts with his brother and like how he interacts with his dad. Like we see more of those interactions and like personality traits. The biggest difference like that I noticed that I think is really important was that like the events that were changed or added allowed for Minoru and Utika's relationship to grow like more slowly and more organically. Like the manga was obviously it's a good manga. Like I've read it a number of times. I love it. But I think because it's so short, you kind of get a little bit of like fast forwarding through them getting to know each other. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of like
Yeah.
it goes quick.
And like it's not quick in the sense of like it didn't feel super like insta love the way that
Hmm.
some mangas do. Like it felt like a slow relationship progression. I just don't feel like we were clued into all of the things that were happening as they slowly got together.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, like it definitely was not insta love, but it was like you could tell that time was passing and we weren't seeing that time passing, right? Like you could tell that there were probably things that weren't being shown within the manga just because of
Mhm.
time constraint, like just because it was short, like you can only show so much. But in the adaptation, like we get a lot more of the little things that they like how like showing us them getting to know each other, like them texting each other, calling each other, like making plans to meet up even if those plans don't work out. Like we see more of that than we do in the
Yeah.
manga. Um, So the manga gave us a lot of information about Minoru and Yuzuka really early on in the first couple pages. We got a lot of information about them, which I think was part of what made the relationship feel a bit more rushed, is because like as an example, in the manga, Yuzuka teaches Minoru and Tane how to make onigiri. That's like the first thing they do together. And in the manga, Minoru and Yutaka leave the house together at the end. Like when he's going, they leave to walk because Minoru also has to go to work. So they're like, okay, let's leave together. And at that point, Minoru explains that his mother died 2 years ago, and Yutaka explains that he lost his parents really young and was adopted. So kind of at their first meeting, they're already having that conversation, whereas in the show, it takes us more time to get to that point. Like we don't find out in their first interaction together,
Yeah.
right? So in my opinion, watching it or and reading it, like telling someone something that's so vulnerable about yourself in like that first meeting and the personal information might feel a little bit like too much, especially something that's traumatic. Like I think for both of them,
Yeah.
those things were very traumatic and they're still working through the emotions. So it felt a little bit rushed to be like, hey, we just met and I taught you how to cook and like we're not really friends yet, but I'll tell you like why my life is the way it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Which in some ways it is kind of like that, you have some people where like you meet them and it's like, I'm going to tell you my whole life story in the first 5 minutes. But it did kind of, I get where it kind of feels like a little bit like we need to throw this out there at the beginning because we're space limited,
Yeah, like
basically.
I think it worked. Like it's not like it doesn't happen because I'm sure that happens. Like
Yeah.
people meet and you just for whatever reason you're like, "Oh, this is a thing that happened to me and it's kind of awful." And the other person's like, "Oh, no way, this happened to me." Like it does happen. Like it's not totally outside the realm of possibility, but I think that like adding the time in the series, like making them see each other more felt a little
Mhm.
bit more realistic. Like they had already, I think they had met like three times in the manga. They'd only seen each other three times between like the first time they meet when Tane steals his lunch, the second time when they apologize, and then the third time they go and make the onigiri together. And it's like, that's not really a lot of time to get to know somebody. But
Yeah.
in the series, like Yuta doesn't even explain his situation with his family until episode 7, which is like more than halfway through. Like they've
Hmm.
had so much more time together and they've gone through so much together. Like they have just experienced so much together that at that point it felt more realistic for Yuta to be
Yeah.
like, here's what happened, here's my struggle. Like it made more sense at that point because they're, like you could feel that they were friends. It wasn't a
Yeah.
first meeting conversation, right?
It felt more normal for him to open up at that point, I feel like.
Yeah, because they were like you knew they were friends. They enjoyed spending time together. Like they'd obviously talked about other things and gone play like they'd done things together. So at that point when they'd seen each other for, you know, weeks and weeks of having, dinner together, it was like, yeah, this makes sense. Like this is a logical progression that you're now gonna feel comfortable telling somebody this.
Yeah.
Right? I think that is like one of the things I really enjoyed about the show was that we got more time with them before we kind of hit those emotional notes.
Yeah. It made the emotional notes, I think, hit a lot harder. And not that they didn't hit hard in the manga, they did. But it's like the timing made it feel like, okay, now like I'm getting this when I need to.
Yeah.
And maybe part of that is I watched the adaptation before I read the manga. So there's like this part of me that's like, this is where it feels like it's the right place. And maybe if I had read
Mm.
it first, maybe I wouldn't have the same feeling.
I
But
mean, I think like either like and this is my whole thing with both with the manga and the series is like they're both really good. Like as standalone
mhm,
separate things, like they both do what they need to do and they do it really well. They're just a different like presentation of the same story, I guess. And I think
yeah,
either way they work. It's just the differences. Like I think I enjoyed the differences because it gave like a deeper level that wasn't there in the manga, which I think would be hard to do in a one issue standalone manga. Like you can't get that much information into it, right?
yeah. Well, I think it's the difference between like some live action adaptations feel like it's like note for note what the
Hmm.
original was. And this feels more like an adaptation in that it's like it pulled the elements that were like so perfect about the manga and then was like, we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to
Yeah.
pace this a little bit differently to tell the story in our own way.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so much like we're going to do a shot for shot remake of the story that's in the manga. We're going to take the feelings and the vibes and the comfort and then kind of like make the story fit the way that it needs
Hmm.
to stretched out.
I also like that the adaptation was like I think it was very smart because like in the manga we find out about Utika's history very early on. And in the series, they did a really good job of like still giving us that information. Because in episode 2, Utica kind of mentions that Tane is so happy when he's with Minoru. He like seeing them together as brothers, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are great. You're great brothers. Like you're so good to each other." And then he mentions like, "Oh, it's really nice that you can eat together, right?" Which alludes to his like family situation because it's like that's kind of a weird thing to say if like eating with people wasn't a big deal to you, right? But it's
Yeah.
also like accompanied with the flashback of a young Minoru at the dinner table and he chooses not to eat because he's uncomfortable, right?
Hmm.
So as the character, he's not going into detail telling Minoru what's happening. It's just
Yeah.
Utika's like we're experiencing his thoughts and his feelings. So we as the audience, we still get to see like, oh, there's something happening here. Like we still understand that there's something around eating, but it's not completely told to us yet, right?
Yeah,
Like
it waits.
yeah, it stretches it out. Like we get the hints, which I think is still true to the manga because the manga told us very early on, like, hey, this is something that he struggles with. So we still
Yeah.
get the feeling of like, oh, there's something here, but we don't give it, it's not all given to us right away. And I
Yeah.
enjoyed that part. Like I enjoyed the stretching out of that information.
Yeah, it feels less necessary for that information to be spoon-fed, I guess.
Hmm.
Because in a manga, you have less space, especially in a one-shot.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think it kind of was like it trusted the audience to be able to interpret what was happening.
Yes.
Like it gave us the hints we needed to know, oh, there's something here like Utika's feeling certain ways about certain things. Minoru's obviously picking up on what's happened, like certain things, but we don't know everything. But it
Yeah.
trusted that the audience wouldn't like be able to read into like, oh, this is a thing. Like this is something that's going to come back. We're going to get back to this like issue at some point.
Yeah.
One thing that I really did like is that there's like a big addition in the series. It's not in the manga, and that's the whole like zoo situation that happens. So in the manga, they don't go to the zoo or they don't plan to go to the zoo. Like that's not even a thing at all. But the series makes like they make plans to go to the zoo and then it gets ruined because it's a rainy day, so they can't go to the zoo. And Utica decides like, okay, we'll just do the zoo at home. Like you've got all the stuffed animals, we'll just so he sets it all up and he makes like a cute little play place for Tawny. And they have like an adorable little like at home zoo lunch like fun day. Um, and for me, like from a story, like a plot point of view, like it makes sense that it was added here in this like particular spot because the manga isn't long enough to give us like a whole bunch of filler episodes, right? Like it doesn't have the space to fill in all those little random things that they would do together. Um, but I think this episode was like created to stretch the time so that we could see that character development.
But like in terms of filler episodes, and it very much is a filler episode, it doesn't feel like filler in the same way like, you know, if you're watching like a 23 episode sitcom that has a filler episode
Yeah.
feels like a filler episode. Like it's
Yeah.
not like Community's bottle episode or anything like that. It's literally, it feels like we're getting what we need to from it because we see like the connection to Tane, the way
Hmm.
that it's like Tane is not a hindrance. He's an important part of Minoru's life.
Yes.
And that was being so honored in that zoo scene. And like I guess like our dining table is not a single parent story,
No.
obviously, in the same way, like because Minoru is not his dad. Like the dad is still very much in the picture and involved in their lives,
Hmm.
but it has a lot of the same notes as like a single parent romance or
Yeah.
something because he fills a lot of that role as the other brother, as the older brother of being like a father figure in a lot of ways or a
Hmm.
main caregiver, like one of the primary caregivers for Tane. And so for me being like a single parent, I sit there and like, you know, I'm obviously too arrow to ever be like, oh, I want to be in a relationship. But when I was still like trying to figure out who I was and everything, and I was dating, it was like you could definitely tell the people who are like me having a kid that is like my number one thing
Mm.
in life. Like this is the main person in my life, and you're secondary to that. You could see the people who are like instantly not going to fit that role. And the fact that the time is taken to be like, we're going to make this day good for him, like absolutely wrecked me on a like an emotional level. It's like, oh my God, you actually like are there for Tane too.
Hmm. I think that's like one of the reasons I love that this was added in is because it really highlighted like how much care and genuine like enjoyment Utica has with Tane. Like he's not just putting up with Tane, right? Like he genuinely enjoys being around both of them. And I think that was really important for us to see because it's like in the beginning, Utica's kind of just like avoiding social interaction altogether. So like as the audience, we could be like, oh, he's cold, he doesn't like people. And it's like that's not true. Like he does not, it's not that he doesn't like people, it's that he struggles to find ways to connect to people because he's uncomfortable in certain situations that are really important to that connection. Like if you can't go out to lunch with your coworkers, how do you connect with them? Like if you're so uncomfortable eating with them, what do you do? Like, where's the middle ground to be connected? And because he's comfortable with Minoru and Tane, he's able to like, we're able to see that side of him that he actually genuinely likes people and he wants to be around people, but he's not been in situations where he's felt comfortable with those people.
Yeah.
And I think like one of the things I also really love that this episode gives us is it shows like Minoru's reaction. Like we get to see, because Minoru's kind of like he's my little brother. He's annoying sometimes, but I love him and I've, dedicated my time to taking care of him. Like that's the decision I've made. And he's had people that don't agree with that decision, which we'll get to in a minute because that's a whole other topic. But this moment where Utika's like, oh, we can't go to the zoo, like, no problem. I'll bring the zoo to us. We'll have a good time. Here's the bento box I made for you guys. And Yusuke even admits that he'd never made them before. Like, he specially learned how to do this for them. And, like, there's a moment where Minoru was, like, kind of looking at Utica, like, in awe or appreciation. He's like, who is this person? Like, why are you so nice? And I think
Yeah.
that's, like, a big point because we're seeing Minoru's thoughts on how Utika's behaving and how he's interacting with Tane. Like that gives us more to like hold on to as an audience, like rooting for their relationship.
Well, and you see Minoru trying like very, very hard in all of the ways that feel responsible and like as a caregiver. And so he doesn't always have, I feel like, the capacity to go, oh, we can't go to the zoo. Now we've got to shift gears, and here's how
Hmm.
we're going to make it fun. Because that's a really hard thing to deal with when you're in the caregiver role versus when you're in more of a support role where it's like, hey, you know what? I have the energy to like make this fun and make this
Yeah.
a whole new thing. And so it's like, I also feel like there was some degree from Minoru of like, I never would have thought to do that. My idea would have been like, okay, well, we can't go to the zoo. I'm so sorry. That's a bummer. Maybe next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you see, instead, it's like, no, we'll make the zoo. We'll bring the zoo here. We're going to have a great day. And it was like,
Yeah.
that was kind of cool.
And I think it's nice too because we see that like Utica doesn't just do it in the zoo situation. Like he's answering Tane's calls. He's agreeing to go to the zoo. He's agreeing to make a bento box even though he doesn't know how. Like he doesn't even admit that he doesn't know how. He's like, "Yeah, I can do that. No problem." Like he genuinely wants to make both of these brothers happy and he kind of shows it in those little ways over and over and over again. And I think that in itself, like Tane is a little kid. Like anyone who gives him attention, he's going to be happy about. But I think for Minoru, it's a bigger deal to be like, this person like enjoys talking to my little brother and me and enjoys hanging out with my little brother and me, like the two of us together, even though my little brother is my little brother and he's annoying. Like there's a another layer happening.
Yeah. And you even see that hesitation in the phone calls and everything where Minoru's like, don't bother him. Like,
Hmm.
Tane, like, you got to stop. Like, and it's just like, no, it's not a problem. This is okay.
And we see it a lot because, we see like Utica rewatching videos that Minoru sent him or actually like taking Tane's calls and at work. Like he's like all in. He's like, you guys are great and I love hanging out with you. And he's willing to do anything. He's like, we'll do whatever you want, Tane. Like I'm happy. And
Yeah.
I think it's also a big deal because I think up to this point, like Minoru has been unhappy. Like we see from his character that like he is kind of just surviving every day. Like he's doing his best and he's trying really hard for his brother, but he's like not really enjoying his life at the moment. Like he's having a hard time.
Yeah.
So I think like one of the things I think was really good that they did is they like Minoru has this confrontation with a classmate who obviously we can read into was like some sort of romantic interest or something at some point. And they actually moved it to an earlier point in the show than it was in the manga. Like in the manga, it would have been probably like like episode 8 or so, like it was near the end. Whereas in the series, they moved it to episode 5, which is kind of like halfway through. And I actually think that was really smart because it set up like how Minoru sees Utica and like showing the audience like why this is such a big thing for him, like why these small acts that Utica's doing are mean so much to him. So basically, Minoru's walking Tane home and he runs into this female classmate who kind of says like, "Hey, can we chat? Like I want to talk to you. I haven't seen you in a while, whatever." So the three of them go to the cafe, they get drinks, and Tane, being a little kid, gets excited, knocks the drink over. And, you know, they're apologizing, trying to clean it up. The girl's like skirt or shirt, whatever, has gotten juice on it. It happens with kids, like kids are messy. But the interesting thing is that she kind of tells Minoru, like, you shouldn't be living your life for your brother. Like, you should come back to school. Like, everybody's waiting for you. Like, why are you doing this? And Minoru obviously scolds Tane for spilling, but it's obvious that like he loves his brother and he's obviously dealing with like grief and pain and hurt, but his classmate saying like don't do this is like invalidating his decision and his own feelings because like even if he didn't have to take care of a little brother, I'm sure going to school after losing your mom would be really hard, especially at like 20 something. Like like that would be really difficult even without a little kid to take care of.
Yeah. That's the thing is like I think people don't always give a lot of time to the role that grief plays.
Hmm.
I mean, and I guess some of that is like in our like very fast-paced culture, it's like, oh, you get like X amount of time off for bereavement. Like, sure, you might be able to take the shift off to like go to a funeral, but that's it.
Yeah.
And so like we don't give time to grief the way that like grief deserves to be held. And she's very much being like, okay, why aren't you over this like massive life change that
Yeah.
you're going through?
And I think too, a lot of it, it may not even necessarily be the grief. I feel like part of it was more his decision to take care of Tane than anything. Like, if he had just left school to deal with his grief and then decided to come back, I think she would have been more okay with it in a way. But having Tane is like, there's this level of, are you going to take care of him forever? Like, until he grows up and goes to school? Like, what's the deal here? Because Tane is a lot younger than Minoru. Like, the age difference is huge because he's like, I don't know, what, like 6 or something. Like he's young, right? And Minoru's 22, I think. So it's like a huge age gap happening here. So I
Yeah.
can see as the friend or as a romantic interest, you're like, okay, when are you gonna stop? Like, are you gonna keep doing this forever? Because like this is a kid. Like he has a long way to go. Like he's not gonna stop being a kid for a long time. But
Yeah.
it's like he made the choice. Like Minoru decided to do this for whatever reason, whether it was for Tane or himself, it doesn't really matter, you know? But then we get the huge contrast when, Tane and Minoru run into Yusuke at the store and they're like, oh, let's all have dinner together. And Minoru cooks and Tane spills and Utica like, don't worry about it. I'll just wash my clothes. Like, let's go get you changed. Like, it's not a big deal. And I think that was kind of like such a lovely moment because you see Minoru like kind of be shocked. He's like obviously he's mad at Tana. He's like, "Oh, you did it again. Like, why are you always like this?" But Utica doesn't even blink. He's just like, "Oopsies, like let's clean you up. Come on, let's go get change." That's it.
Yeah. There's just this like level of care there of like, and I think there's also this fear from Minoru of like, I've seen where this goes before.
Yeah.
I've seen where, maybe you're here for the good times, you're here for the happy times, you're here to help us cook and things like that. But now that it's inconvenient, now that he's spilled on you, is this going to be the moment where you go, this is too much, the kid's too much, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gone?
Yeah.
And to see that not happen, I think is what really made him go like, oh, you're actually like here,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what. And that's a big difference.
And I think it's so smart that they moved this up because we've seen them get to know each other. Like we've seen them get closer. We've seen like the little hints of, Minoru kind of looks at Utica a certain way, or Utica's getting excited at text messages. Like we see those tiny little hints, but I feel like that moment kind of like flipped a switch in Minoru. Like he was kind of like, oh, this person is like here. Like they actually are accepting the entire situation. Like this is someone who isn't annoyed by my brother, doesn't care that he makes a mess, doesn't care that he cries, doesn't care that we have to change plans because he gets sick. Like this is someone who's here for all of it. And I think that is like a moment that maybe Minoru's like, hey, this could be something else. Like this could be different than just you're a friend for now and we see what happens.
Yeah. Well, and I think to some degree, because Tane is so much a part of Minoru's life, it's not just you're here for this. It was like, oh, you're here for all of me
Mm-hmm.
and everything that entails. Like, it's not just the easy to take parts of me, but it's the parts of me where it's like, I am locked in on giving care to my brother and
Yeah.
being here for him. That it's like, oh, you're here for all of me
Mm-hmm.
and all the mess that that sometimes entails.
Yeah, and it did feel like a switch because like we see when Yuta takes Tane to go get changed, like Minoru's kind of sitting with his thoughts. He's kind of like a little bit shocked, like, oh, what just happened here? But also like, what am I feeling here? Like, why am I, especially because the difference was like so immediate, right? It's like probably a span of hours from this classmate being upset to Yuta not caring. It's like why are these two people so different? Like what is happening here?
Yeah.
And it was
Well, and I
smart.
think, oh, go ahead.
I was just saying it's smart to put it sooner because like as the audience we can root for it a little. Like we're getting those hints of like I want to root for these two now. Like oh, maybe Minoru's thinking differently. Oh, Utica obviously loves both of like cares for both of them.
Yeah. Well, and I think because of that implied romantic interest of the person that they run into
Hmm.
before
Yeah.
and that initial spill, it very much highlights the fact that it's like, you know, there is that hesitation sometimes in culture, especially like in Japanese culture, where it's like a concern about like two men being together and things like that. And so it really highlights that like the fact that he's a boy isn't the problem with me thinking, oh, wow, he's here for all of me. It's
Hmm.
like it very much shows like, yes, that was a situation where this person might have been a romantic interest. This is also a situation where I'm realizing this friend might be a romantic interest. And there's not that hesitation there in that, like, oh, this can't be a possibility.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the same kind of setting, regardless of gender.
Especially because we've been kind of fed the little hints, right? Like we've seen Minoru kind of shyly smile and hide it, or we've seen Utica be really, excited about getting a video from Tane. Like we've seen the little hints that like there might be a sprinkle of something more happening, like more feelings happening. So this moment is really like especially Minoru seemingly more like the colder, like doesn't really want to show emotions character, and him being like, obviously he's thinking that this is different somehow, like this is something else. As the audience, we're like, oh, like, huh,
Yeah.
this is great. Halfway through, like, come on. Like now we can like spend the last half being like, okay, here we go. Like this is it. This is what we're looking for, right?
Yeah. It's that thing that shifts it from like rooting for them to be these amazing friends who are in each other's lives and rooting for them to be like, oh, you guys have more romantic interest in
Hmm.
each other. Like this is
Especially with
really
this,
romantic.
like being halfway through, because like in the manga it was so much later. I think having it say like episode 8, the slow burn, like obviously a slow burn can be good, but I think in this situation, like that's not the slow burn we needed. Like we needed to know that there was already something there. There was already that they were already going in that direction. We just had to see them get there rather than taking, more than half the show and then all of a sudden Minoru being like, "Hey, maybe I have feelings for you." Like we needed to see it develop more drawn out, like more like not an overnight switch, you know?
Yeah,
So I think it was good. Like it was great that they moved it earlier because I'm like, this makes sense. Like it makes sense to see this happen now because then we have, okay, now what do we do with these feelings? Like where do we go from here?
yeah,
The other thing that I liked too was that like in the manga we see that Utika's like avoiding going to lunches and stuff, which I mentioned earlier. Like he doesn't really talk to his colleagues. He doesn't go to lunch with them. I liked it in the adaptation. Like they were more actively trying to get close to him. Like you could see that like they weren't just ignoring him or being like, he never comes, so like forget it. Like there was always someone being like, hey, you sure you don't want to come? Like, oh, we're going here. Do you want a drink? Like we're coming, we're gonna go get this. You should come with us. Like they actively tried to engage him. And that felt nice because it was like it gave us the opportunity to be like, oh, he has the chance. Like he can do this if he wanted to. Like the door was still open. Whereas I think in the manga, it felt more like the door was closed to him being friends with them. Like it would have been
yeah. Like
harder.
that ship already sailed. They tried, they failed. They're done
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah, they were done. So I think it was nice that like one of the colleagues would like always ask him, oh, do you want to come with us? Or oh, like we're gonna go here. Are you coming for lunch? And then in episode 3, like he asks for help, like how to make the bento boxes, and she teaches him. Like she, makes a nice little diagram and writes what he needs to do and like explains it all to him. And I loved that because it was like you could see her wanting to be friends with him. Like she wanted to get close to him. It wasn't Utica having to do all the work. It was
Yeah,
people around him genuinely care about him and want to get to know him. He just needs to learn to open up. And I think she was like the perfect way to show that growth. Like, I think that growth in the character of like he's learning to be more open with people and like talk to people and find other points of connection.
yeah. And the fact that like they do ask him to lunch and everything, and the place where he opens up and connects is when he needs help with the bento for Tane. And it's
Hmm.
like, yes, he's got them as like people who help him open up, but it's like the way that he's initiating that conversation feels comfortable because it's like, well, I have to do this for them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you have like two shy best friends and it's like, okay, who's gonna order the food
Hmm.
because we're both shy? It's like you feel like you kind of like have to like be the person who does it
Hmm.
and take charge for your friend. And so it feels like they've given him that like ability to reach out to others because it's for them.
And I think too, one thing that like what that I took out of it was kind of like Tane and his colleague, like they both showed him that he was wanted. Like they showed him that he was valuable and that people cared and wanted to know him. And they did it over and over and over again. And like obviously Minoru did too, but I think Tane kind of just won in that category with sheer enthusiasm. But
Yeah.
like he needed somebody to like show him that like you're fine the way you are. Like we want to know you. We want to be close to you because he didn't have that. Like he didn't have people reaching out to him in that way.
Well, and Minoru still has that hesitation in a way that Tane doesn't. And
Hmm.
so it's not that like he wouldn't have reached out or that he didn't reach out. It's that he has all of the baggage that comes with friends dismissing him because of Tane and things like that. And you know that like even though that's the only time we see it on the screen is with that one friend, there is kind of also that feeling of like this has happened
Yeah.
before.
Mhm.
He's been told before that Tane is an imposition rather than a part of his whole life.
Yeah. Especially because he's not really phased by her comments. It's like, he's heard it. Like, he's heard it time and time again, probably people going, haven't you done enough? Like, your dad's still there. Can't he take care of Tane? Like, why aren't you coming back to school? Like, are you ever gonna finish? Like, I'm sure you can imply that he's heard that conversation so many times, especially because it's been like 2 years since he was in school. So, like, there's enough time to have a number of people have that conversation with you. And
Yeah.
then he gets Yuzuko who doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like,
It's I think that's a lot of why he doesn't reach out as much as Tane, or like he's not as enthusiastic because
hmm
it's like he's got that like jadedness or that like feeling of hesitation because he's been through it.
yeah. And Utika's the same in that like sense of not reaching out to people or like being open. And I think like one thing that I loved is the fact that his colleagues were more interested in getting to know him, that they helped him realize his feelings because he has the whole conversation with his colleague about like, should she call her boyfriend when they got in a fight? Like, we're having issues, but should we try to like work it out or just break up? Like, they have this conversation. It kind of gets him thinking about his own feelings and like what he wants and what he should do in this situation because he's like, he doesn't know how he feels, and having someone else like having a, even though she's not talking to him about his feelings, she's talking about her own feelings, he can kind of look to that as like, oh, this is how people feel in relationships, this is what people do, what they talk about, this is also what it feels like to have someone want to talk to me about an issue, which I'm sure he's
Yeah.
not really had very much.
Yeah. Well, because it seems like he's had kind of a more isolated life in a lot of ways up until meeting Minoru and Tane.
hmm
And so to have this person who's like sharing this with him feels good, but also it's like, oh yeah, you are showing me like these are the feelings that you have. Oh, I've experienced these feelings before. I'm experiencing these feelings. What does that mean then?
Yeah, exactly. Like you're seeing, I think like the thing that I love about the adaptation is just we see so much more of them like experiencing things, and like we see the development in their characters that way. Like even in episode 6 when Utica gets sick and like Minoru is really worried and goes over to like help him out, which happens in both, but it's like in the series, Utica passes out. It's like a whole thing. He's on the phone with Minoru, so Minoru doesn't actually know what's happening. Like he's just like, "What happened? Like where did you go?" basically.
Yeah.
Which is obviously kind of dramatic. Like I don't know how many people pass out on the phone when they're like, "Hey, I can't come to the Christmas party. Like I don't feel good." Like I don't know if that happens all the time. Like it's kind of dramatic, but I think in a storytelling aspect, it's really good because we see like how worried Minoru was. Like he's like completely out of his mind, being like, I need to go see him once I'm done what I'm doing and like make sure he's okay because he feared the worst. And then we also see
Yeah.
like them get to be closer, which it's still like in the manga, it still happens, but I think there's a layer like in the show of like almost desperation. Like there's a level of like Minoru being so worried that we don't get in the manga in the same way because it's a little bit more like Yutaka's on the phone like, "Hey, I'm sick, I can't come, sorry." And like it's not as dramatic, right? Like
I feel like fainting is also kind of a staple of BLs in general. Like
it is.
there's
Someone
that like
has to
sick
faint.
scene, and with it, there's like gotta be like fainting. It can't
Yeah.
just be like, oh, the person's sick.
Yeah, it has to be fainting. I mean, like it is dramatic and like it probably doesn't happen that often, but I think in that context of like showing the audience how much they actually care about each other was really smart because we see like Minoru like rushing over, like he is like panting, like he ran the entire way to get to Utaga's house, being like, "Are you alive? Like I thought you literally died."
Yeah.
Especially given like his mom was always sick. Like that's probably very scary for him to have someone he cares about be like, "Hey, I'm sick," when his mom was always sick. Like, and that was
Yeah.
how she died. Like she was sick. So,
Yeah. Illness is traumatic for him.
yeah. Right. And we even see it with Tane. Like Tane's at home with their dad being like, "Is Yuta gonna die?" Like he doesn't understand. He doesn't know. He
Yeah.
just know his mom isn't there because she was sick and now Utika's sick. Like when you're sick, you die. Like that's what happens,
Yeah.
right? So we see it on both ends. Like both of them are
Yeah.
worried and care. And like that scene in itself was really important because we see them like admitting, like, I want to know everything about you. Like, I want to be closer to you, even if they aren't yet, because Utica falls asleep because he's still sick. Um,
But it's also it's one of the rare scenes that we see them interact without Tane as a
mhm,
point of connection. Because it
mhm,
seems like so often like they connect because Tane's in the room.
mhm.
And so you see them connect with each other, but it's like Tane is like this ping pong ball between the two paddles. And it's like this is the
That's,
first time where it's like,
yeah.
oh, they're connecting.
And this is the whole thing, right? Like Minoru tries, like he's trying, like even before the Christmas party, he wants to invite Utica to Christmas, but he can't get the words out and he's trying and then in comes Tani being like, "Oh, Christmas party, come." Like
Yeah.
so the outcome is would have still been the same, but like Tani very much gets in the way of them being able to like have an adult conversation because he's
Yeah.
a little kid, right? So they never get that chance to actually like be alone and have a conversation with each other.
Hmm. This is like a big part where it's like, oh, they're actually conversing, and Tane is not like in the thick of it at this point.
Exactly. And then like we go into kind of a quintessential moment where they're alone, where we have the confession in episode 8, which
Yeah.
the confession,
Yeah.
like they make plans to meet up. You know, they go to a cafe they to talk without Tani because of course Tani is in the middle of everything and Minoru can't get a word out as when he's around. And Menard just like admits his feelings, which I mean, good for him. Like bold, like that's some courage
Yeah.
there after figuring that out. And I find it so interesting. Like it's such a fascinating confession because Minoru was like basically like, "Hey, I like you, but just forget it. Like don't even worry about it. I'll never talk about it again." Like which also I feel like is
Yeah.
a BL staple where it's
Yes.
the I like you, but it's not your problem,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I like you, but I'll handle it and squash it down. Like,
Right, yeah. But then we do see that like Utika's kind of like thinking about what happened because they shake hands at the end of that meeting, right? Where Minoru's like, I feel this way about you, like this is the last time I'm gonna touch you, like bye. And Utika's kind of like staring at his hand, like, wait, what? Like he's like, huh?
yeah. It's like, wait a second, you did not give me a chance to decide whether or not I agreed to that.
And like it's hilarious. I think this is so interesting. Is like they don't get a lot of time alone, yet they're still so dysfunctional alone. Like it's not like
Yeah.
Tane is actually making any difference.
Well, and it's almost like, Tane is kind of that catalyst for like come to the Christmas party, do all of these things. So it's almost like when they don't have him there, they're having to figure out a whole new way of conversing because Tane says the things that either of them might be thinking
Hmm.
out loud. And so he breaks that wall for them.
Hmm.
But when they're just having to sort it out on their own, like neither of them is willing to like actually break through the wall. They're just like,
They can't do it. They can't,
okay,
especially
here's this
like
handshake.
their whole friendship is based around Tane, really. Like that's been the whole thing is like teach Tane how to make this because he doesn't like my food, right? Like that's been the whole thing. So now it's kind of like, what do we do with this information? And then like circling back to the fact that in the series, Utaga's colleagues talk to him more. He's able to actually like get information and figure out what to do because he has this friendship now. Because her like
Yeah.
his colleagues talking about she's having trouble with her boyfriend. It's the end of the year. Like before the end of the year, I kind of just want to clear it up and like regardless of the outcome, talk to him. And Utica's like, that's what I need to do. I need to go talk to him, right? Like
Yeah.
he gets that information, which in the manga he doesn't have that conversation with her, so like he just kind of has to figure it out on his own.
Yeah.
So I liked that she was there, kind of being like, well, it's the end of the year, like just clear whatever stuff is unsaid. Like you have to just do it before the year's over, right?
Well, and I feel like in the show that also shows how far he's come in terms of connecting with others that we don't necessarily get on the
Mm-hmm.
page of the
Mm-hmm.
manga. It's like, oh, it's not just that he connected with Minoru and Tane, it's that he is connecting with people.
Right. So the manga confrontation is actually different than in the series. So in the manga, Minoru's out shopping and Utica runs into him, and then they're like interrupted by Minoru's dad. So the two of them kind of go on their way to the park and like have their little talk. Um, but in the series, they actually like after kind of being encouraged by the people in their lives, they both decide to go talk to each other and like clear the air, and then end up meeting outside of Minoru's house, like as they're running to each other. Get the iconic BL run.
Which I love. I'm such a sucker for that.
It's great. It's great when they run to each other. But then they go to the park and like the actual like confession is basically the same. It's pretty similar, but I think the change of having them both want to have that conversation and like actively make that decision to have the conversation like makes a big difference because in the manga, Minoru feels more passive about the situation. He's just kind of like going along with it because Utika's like, we should go talk, and the dad's kind of like, you should go talk, but like, he's not actually really making that choice. Whereas, like, in the series, it feels like he desperately wants to have the conversation, and they both are now on the same page of like, we need to talk about this.
It feels like, and this is not, again, this isn't no knock against the manga because I love it so much.
Hmm.
And I feel like I would be like, oh, well, I liked the series way better than the manga or something. And that's not the case in this instance. I really do love them both. But it's one of those things where I feel like Minoru does have a little bit more agency
Hmm.
in the show and a little bit more understanding of his own feelings in the show than he does in the manga. And I do think some of that is space related. You
Hmm.
only have so many pages.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, my whole thoughts on this is not that either of them is better. It's just like the series was able to give us more character depth than we could. Like, the plot is basically the same thing. Like, they didn't change a whole lot there, but it's more, we could see more of the characters because they had the time to give that to us.
Yeah. I do wonder how it would change if the manga had the same like physical space as the series.
Hmm.
Like if it had not been a one shot, if it had been like two or three volumes or something versus one volume.
Yeah, it would have been interesting because I'm sure like it would have been fleshed out a bit differently and like we would have seen more of the characters if we had more volumes, but one is hard to get a whole story into,
Yeah.
right? But like it's still good and like even like I said, the plot is pretty much the same. Like the ending is basically the same. Like we still get you know, Utica explaining like the reason he didn't say anything was because saying I love you like wasn't actually enough to explain how he felt. Like he didn't have the words to explain his own feelings, and that's why he didn't respond at the initial point of Minoru being like, "Hey, I like you." So like we still
Yeah.
get all of that in both of them. Like we still see the same thing. We still see, you know, Utica being kind of worried about what happens if I lose them. Like I don't want to be too involved because, you know, eventually we'll break up and whatever. Like we still get all of that. So it's basically like the plot stayed the same. It's just they kind of fleshed it out, made the characters a bit more 3D in a way
Yeah.
than they were.
Yeah. It like it hits home differently. And I think that we get to see like when you read it on the page, there are certain things that happen, and you can imagine as the reader,
Yeah.
this is why these character actions might have been taken. This is where their trauma might be playing a role. This is where, you know, the history with each of their families might be defining and shaping the ways in which they interact here. Um, and instead, in the show, it doesn't feel like, oh, they hold your hand more and like
Hmm.
spell it out or anything. It just feels like it fills in some of the pieces that we as the reader had to fill in. And so, like, for me, I feel like my experience reading it and your experience reading it and someone else's experience reading it would all be very different experiences because we bring different traumas and relations to the
Hmm.
character and histories and family backgrounds and things like that. Whereas in the show, it kind of streamlines that process and goes like, no matter where you come from, you're still going to get the story and you're going to understand why they feel the way they feel.
Yeah, like in the manga, a lot of it is implied, I think. Like you still see that they're close. Like you can still tell that they've obviously spent a lot of time together, but it's implied. Like we're not directly seeing those interactions. We're seeing kind of bits and pieces, which that's fine for like a slice of life story anyways. But the series, I think, is able to like really show us the important moments that got us to the points that are in the manga. Like we got to see everything that happens in the manga, but we got how did we get there? We also got those bits of what got us to that point.
Yeah, it's kind of like if a slice of life is like this like slice of bread with butter and it's beautifully toasted and everything, like it's a really good piece of toast.
Hmm.
But like it feels like the live action added in like the cheese, added in like the extra things, and it was like, and here's this other slice of bread. And so it like filled out the whole sandwich versus just being
Yeah.
like, here is this slice, and it is a really good slice.
Yeah, and it was very much like they had to make changes because it wasn't enough for a show. Like it wasn't enough for a full series unless they were going to make a mini series out of it. Like there wasn't enough there anyways, and I think part of that was, they're making a BL. They want to hit a lot of the BL points that, fans and audiences are going to be looking for. Like, we need the fainting, we need the running
Yeah.
to each other. Like, we need those things. Like, those are part of the whole reason, like, the whole what makes it a BL and what makes it like expected and comfortable for people. But at the same
Yeah.
time, like the manga did all the things too. Like it did all the things it needed to do for us to be like, yay, we're glad they got together. Like it was exactly what it needed to be.
Yeah. Or like I guess if it were more comparable to the actual show, like it feels like the show is like the big grenade onigiri, and then like the manga is like a great onigiri that you really love, but it's like a normal size
Yeah,
slice.
not the size of your
Yeah.
head. Yeah.
It's not grenade size. It's not the big
Yeah.
one.
It's I think this is the thing that I love about it though, is that they both are like great on their own. And like even the endings they changed a little bit. So like in the manga, like the epilogue is kind of we see Tane grown up, like he's a few years older, he's in school, and Yuta brings him, I think it's lunch, and is like, "Oh, you forgot this at home, like I'm bringing it to you." And one of Tane's friends is like, "Who is that?" kind of thing. And Tane has to decide like how to explain who Utica is. So like we obviously know like they're still together, they're still a family. And in the series, we get Minoru and Tane go to pick, or sorry, Minoru and Utica go to pick Tane up from school. And it's like the same thing, basically. It's like one of the friends is like, "Who is that? Like, why are you with that random guy?" Right? But we get the Tane going, "Oh, he's my family." Like, that this person is my family, and Minoru was kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, like you can't just say that. And Yutaka's like,
Yeah.
no, yeah, I'm your family. Like that's fine. Like
Yeah.
that's what we are. So like the endings still tell us the same thing. Like they still tell us, they're together, they're a family, they're making it work however it works for them. But I think the series did a good job of like bringing us to a closure point that like audiences would expect and still gives us like the hope or hints for what the future could be, without
Yeah.
having to get a new actor and like jump us 10 years in the future and be like, oh, they're all way older now. And like, what does that look like?
Yeah. It like it conveyed the same emotions
Hmm.
and hit the same emotional points, but it didn't require like the effort that might have taken to make it the same.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think that's the thing is so much about this is like it's fundamentally the same story. It's just tiny details throughout changed it in a way that like fleshed out the characters and made them feel more complex, but not different. Like they're the
Yeah.
same characters we got in the manga. They're just more of them.
Yeah, because I feel like there are times when you watch a live action adaptation and it's like I have to relearn all of you all over again because
Yeah,
I
they're
know
not the
what I was
same.
bringing to the table. But
Hmm.
like there are quirks in your personality that are not what I read on the page.
Hmm.
And that's not the case with this. Like what you see on the screen is what you get in the manga. It's just more on the
Yeah, and
screen.
pieced together a little bit out of order, but I think like, and that's the thing. I think like you can tell that they created a story that gave like a very caring and loving relationship, but they also kept very close to the original material. And I think they honored the original material that fans would have liked if they had read it first, but
Yeah.
also was a adaptation that you could watch without having even known that it was a manga first.
Yes. It worked very, very well as a standalone, but I also feel like the changes in it going from seeing the live action to reading the manga, like I didn't feel like when I read the manga, I was missing things from the
Hmm.
series necessarily. And I didn't feel like the manga almost felt like a good highlight reel in a lot of ways. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this is all of the coziness and all of the characters that I love from the show. That's so amazing. But I'm not having to walk through the exact same plot. It's like this is a more portable way to watch this thing that I really love,
Hmm.
and instead I'm going to read it.
I think that's the thing is that it is the same story, and the things that were added didn't take away from the original story, but they're also things that, like, if you read the manga after seeing the show, you wouldn't be like, oh, I wish that we had gotten the zoo scene, or I wish that we'd gotten this, because it's like they're not that important to like the fundamental basics of what the story is.
Yeah, the story changes, but at the same time, you walk away feeling the same way, I
Hmm.
think, after both of them. You
Hmm.
walk away from both feeling that coziness, feeling that found family, feeling like you got what you were rooting for in the end.
And I think a lot of that goes like has to be, hands off, like hats off to the manga because like it in itself was so well done that they didn't really have to change all that much. Like sure they added in some scenes and they moved some stuff around, but like it's not a situation where they had to change characters or change, actual plot points or events. Like it was perfect pretty much the way it was. They just had to make it watchable rather than readable.
Yeah. And I hope that like people who did watch the show and didn't necessarily read the story will not feel like reading the story is going to be markedly different or be like a burden if they decide to read it before volume 2 comes out.
Hmm.
And like I feel like this is kind of a way to be like, no, like you will probably like really love the manga if you love the show. This isn't one of those of like, oh, the show was better, oh, the manga was better.
Yeah, because it does happen. Like when you adapt something, depending on what the story is, things have to change. And some people will like the show better. Some people will like the story, the book, manga, whatever better. But I think in
Yeah,
this case, it's like, I think part of it is because the point, at least in my opinion, is more the feeling we get than the actual plot. If that, like, because it's slice of life, it's like not a whole lot is actually happening. Like, it's pretty
yeah,
much just we see people make dinner and hang out and like go do things together. Like, there's not a lot going on. So it's more about how it makes you feel than like the actual plot points that are happening.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so overall, like I think the adaptation and the team that worked on it did an amazing job adapting it because it's like we're saying almost exactly the same feeling in the end. Like you feel the same way whether you read it or you watch it. And the additions like made the story better but didn't make the story different. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so I guess if you've watched it or you've read the manga, tell us what you think. Do you have any favorite things they changed or added, or do you hate that they changed it? Like, let us know your opinions. We're open to all of them.
Yes, if you disagree with us, we will fight you. No, I mean, we will actually like take that in because I do think that, I mean, I guess maybe coming from it from this lens of you and I both really loved it. on like in both formats, it would be really interesting to see and like hear from people who
Hmm.
are like, no, this one was better. No, this one was definitely better. Like,
Especially like I understand like slice of life is not for everybody, so I'm sure there were
yeah,
people who've watched and or read and like did not enjoy it. And like that like I totally get it because like I just very much like cozy slice of life stories. That doesn't mean other people do. So like I know it's
yeah,
not for everybody. So
yeah,
we'd love to hear opinions because that's all
yeah,
this is. We just like to go on and on about our opinions. So feel free to go on and on in the
yeah,
comments about your opinions on
yeah.
it.
You can write a novel. I don't know if YouTube has a character limit, but you can always reply to your own comment and
Yeah,
keep
go
going,
for
and
it.
we will read it.
We will absolutely read it. Like
We're
we
here for
watch
this.
the show constantly, so like we will read anything you have to say
Yeah,
about it.
it's like kind of a background loop. So,
Yeah, pretty much. It's always on somewhere at some point.
yeah.